The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is brought to you by Hearthside Bank and by Madisonville Marine.
You can't fix that in season unless you're willing to say, we've got enough depth to do this.
There's a lot of buzz certainly suggesting that he might be on the way out at some point. Now, big buyout though.
I know they want to get David Sanders on the field. If they want David Sanders on the field, all you got to do is just have that conversation with Shamu Marab and say, look, this is how it was going to be before everything happened. We're going back to that.
I also think Tennessee's going to learn their lesson a little bit and run the football more in this game after two guys averaging more than 8 yards a carry last week, and they still threw the ball over 40 times.
It can be a possession that ends because you took a penalty when you shouldn't have. But until the Vols show me, hey, this is fixed and complete, tight game.
I need to see the tackling clean up. I need to see them be better on 3rd and long.
We're either starting to get tired legs or we're getting more nicks from that group. And we're trying to slow things down and allow guys to get back into the game.
They've got to figure out what are our counter punches to your counter punch. Good Saturday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. I'm John Pennington, joined by VFL Ollie Lane, joined by John Wilkerson, joined by VFL Marlon Walls right over there. We're here to get you ready for Tennessee versus Kentucky. This is, of course, a border battle, an old-time rival. Tennessee's oldest rival should be the battle for the beer barrel, but that's a story for another day, I suppose. This segment of our show, as we dive right in, is called Setting the Stage. It's brought to you by Hearthside Bank, always within reach. Hearthside Bank, anywhere in Southeast Kentucky, anywhere in East Tennessee, they have branches all over. These are really, really good people. And as someone who grew up in Middlesboro, Kentucky, right there on the state line, I can tell you two things. The Kentucky-Tennessee battle is still important to those people along the state line, and Hearthside Bank's a heck of a bank for all the people along that state line and inside Southeast Kentucky and East Tennessee. All right, Vols coming off a disappointing 37-20 loss at Alabama. Though when everyone predicts you're going to lose that game and you're picked for 9th in the SEC before the season, I'm not sure how disappointing it really should have been. I mean, you want to beat them, but it shouldn't have been a shocker, I don't think. Nonetheless, UT fell to number 17 in both polls, but their playoff hopes aren't kaput just yet. The Vols had to earn a bid last year at 10-2. They can do the same this year. It's just going to take a 5-game winning streak to do it. That's a challenge. Kentucky, meanwhile, comes in at 2-4, 0-4 in the SEC, but just when you think they're about to quit, they did take Texas to overtime in Lexington last week before falling 16-13. And I know what you're saying. Well, Texas stinks. Well, it's the same Texas team that whipped up on Oklahoma the week before, which I think gives you a good idea of how competitive the SEC is and how teams rise and fall from week to week. And it's why everyone should be taking tonight's game seriously, regardless of record. Here's another reason. Josh Heupel has faced Kentucky and Mark Stoops 4 times since he's moved to Knoxville. He is 4-0. But only one of those games was a laugher. In Tennessee's last 4 trips to Lexington, that includes Butch Jones, Jeremy Pruitt, and 2 under Josh Heupel, Tennessee's 3-1, but the winning team in all 4 games has won by no more than 6 points. So we're talking tight games for the most part. As for Tennessee's injury situation, Ricky Gibson, Jermod McCoy, and Travis Smith all out again. Might as well stop talking about Gibson and McCoy. I do not think they're going to be back at any point this year. Joey Aguilar will be on the field. He took a wicked hit at Alabama, but he is expected to be okay. Ethan Davis, questionable. Rodarius Jackson, questionable. You will know more than us probably, but Arian Carter, we taped before the Vols hit the road to Kentucky. Arian Carter at that point was listed as questionable. My guess is he didn't make the trip. But again, you'll know better than we do on that front. But for Carter not being in there, dealing with turf toe, that requires rest. You hope that he'll be back for Oklahoma. Be great if he plays tonight, but that's going to be tough. My question, since it's a huge game, since tackling was such a big issue last week, Marlon, they haven't had much luck setting the edge all year. Tackling, probably their low point last week against Alabama.
Correct.
With or without Arian Carter? Well, let's start with without Arian Carter. That does not help the situation in the least if he doesn't play.
No, I don't like that. I don't like getting that answer right there, the fact that he's not going to play today. You're talking about a defense who has struggled to tackle all season long. You're talking about a defense who have struggled to set edges. You're talking about a defense also that's blown coverages. The guy in the middle that runs that entire defense as far as making sure guys are on the same page is Arion Carter, your middle linebacker. And so I don't like hearing the fact that he's not going to play in a game that's super pivotal to us. One that I was really worried about anyways, because you are on the road at Kentucky, and now you take away that key piece, that guy that is the leader, the guy that's calling your plays out, getting guys lined up, that is your communication piece on the defense. Yeah, that's a scary sight not having that guy in there.
One of the things we want to talk about is, and we got a couple of these questions, what can be fixed? What's fixable? Tackling. And let's say Arion Carter, whether he's in there or not tonight, just tackling in general, you're deep into the season.
Yep.
And I thought the tackling got worse at the end of last week's game when you're beat. So that a little bit of fatigue probably as well. How do you fix tackling in week 8?
You fix tackling by going back to the fundamentals. That means you got to have some hard practices. I was a part of one of those teams where it's like, all right, we got to go back to the basics and we got to go tackle. Now, here's what you can't do right now is the fact that we have a lot still to play for. So it's hard to have those kind of practices because you might get a guy injured.
Yep.
And now we see one of your guys are out right now. So you can't.
We think.
Yeah, we think. You can't fix that in season unless you're willing to say, we've got enough depth to do this. Let's go load it up. We're going to have us a couple hard practices and teach these guys how to tackle again. And so I don't think with this specific team, this specific defense, we have the depth to do so. And so you kind of just got to go in with who you are and try to get better in some other areas as far as, I would say, creating turnovers, getting to the quarterback.
So possibly fixable, but when you're at this point in the season, might not be able you might not be able to prescribe the medicine you need.
That's it.
All right, let's talk about another area that might be fixable. Tennessee's pass protection had been good all year. You'd only had 4 sacks allowed all season. Last week against Alabama, they give up 4 sacks, 2 in the first half. I get a text from Ollie, who is in Tuscaloosa, enjoying yourself, I'm sure. Ollie, you texted me. It's like, what is with all of the shifting and shuffling? You had more rotation in that first half last week than you've had all year under Josh Heupel. And I got to think, A has something to do with B. Suddenly you're giving up sacks left and right. You're also playing Alabama, but sacks left and right just happens to be the game. You're moving guys all over the place. In your opinion, is it time to pick a line and stick with it, or can you still do a little bit more shuffling to figure that out?
I think at some point you're going to have to pick the line and just stick with it. I think you can do shuffling, but it can't be in the form of moving guys from one side to the other like they were doing in the Alabama game. I talked about it on the final word this week, but when you're moving a guy like Wendell Moy from right to left, I mean, this first play at left guard, he gave up a sack. I mean, it's just, you're messing with it. I hated switching sides. It's not a fun experience, and especially doing it in the middle of the game. And then you also had a guy in Jesse Perry move outside to inside. Look, those moves only need to be done if it's necessary. If someone goes out and you got to fill in the rotation somehow to still get a best 5 out there. But when you're doing it free willy, just letting things happen like that, I think you're asking yourself for a recipe for disaster. I know they want to get David Sanders on the field. And if they want David Sanders on the field, all you got to do is just have that conversation with Shamu Marab and say, look, this is how it was going to be before everything happened. We're going back to that. You're going to be the next man up in the rotation. Okay, and I think Sham would be perfectly fine with that. But at some point, you need to hammer down, do you want David Sanders in there full-time or not? And I think that's the question they're asking themselves. And so you saw these different looks. My thing is, if you're going to do the different looks, you do that in practice and flesh that out before the game. The only time we would ever rotate is if it was a situation where like a left tackle and a left tackle are rotating in and out a couple series here and there.
Which they also did with the center.
Yes.
They had to do it due to Lance Hurd having his ankle wrapped a little bit, but that's normal.
Yes.
What isn't normal is we're going to move this guy from right tackle to right guard, a new right tackle comes in, the left guard goes to right guard, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, those shifts, to me, like when I was there, those would only happen if someone went down.
Yeah.
And you had to fill in, well, our backup center was our left guard, so the left guard had to move over, next left guard would come in. That's how it typically works. So you don't necessarily want to move around and mess with these guys. One is your repetition and your comfortability in the game. Because, I mean, like I've said multiple times, left and right feels like 2 completely different worlds. And so when you're trying to get used to that, it can take some time, and you're going to see the mistakes pop up.
All right. So tackling, maybe fixable. Offensive line, fixable. John, I'm going to give you one that I don't personally, I don't think it is fixable, but I'll let you argue with that if you want to. Tennessee penalties, and they got hammered with the penalties again last week, and everyone was talking about, you got to fix this, you got to clean this up. We did the numbers back over the summer, and laid out and showed you what Josh Heupel's teams have done here in Knoxville. And it has ranged between 6.8 and 8.1 penalties per game for 4 straight years. And it's between 63.7 and 68.8 yards per game. It's remarkably consistent. And this year, 7.7 penalties, 63.7. If anything, they brought the numbers down a little bit. That's the low water mark, but still, it's right there in that range. So my question then, in my opinion, I think it's baked in. Is it?
I just think that there is a certain level of this that is excusable. I think it's inexcusable. When you start the game with a drive and you have a really nice gain that might give you early momentum, and all of a sudden that gets wiped off because you had a receiver that didn't check with the side judge who's there as a resource. All you have to do is look to your left or your right and say, am I good? And they'll say yes or no. And that's, why not use that? Yeah. And so Tennessee had a first down. It got wiped off. They got behind the sticks, and they didn't recover, and Alabama went down, grabbed the lead, and so they had the early amount of momentum. So I do think there's a lot of risk management and assessment with this, because I think Josh Heupel might be of the mindset, you know what, we might take a penalty here or there, but with our offense, we're going to be able to get it back. It's kind of like Bruce Pearl used to operate. Look, we're going to throw up our share of threes. If we wind up having a cold start, then we're going to get the ball back with X amount of steals, because that's the style of play. And
you're also playing aggressive on defense, too. So
correct.
Same thing.
So I do think that you feel that you're going to have extra possessions, and that's going to make up for what you see as just a part of the game, a facet of the game that is not the backbreaker, not the deal breaker for you as a team. But I will say this, in the Southeastern Conference, where it is nip and tuck, it can be a possession that ends because you took a penalty when you shouldn't have, when it was so preventable. So it should be mind your P's and Q's, and if it's an honest-to-goodness penalty, we can survive that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. When we come back, we got many more people to come this way on the show for you. We got 5 more, as a matter of fact. We'll start with a scouting report of Kentucky, Mark Stoops' tenure. Where is that right now? What is his job security, and what impact does that have on tonight's game? We got much more to come on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Stick around. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is called the Scouting Report. We go over to Paige Dower and her crew to break down the Kentucky Wildcats.
Thanks, John. We'll turn our attention now to our guests we have at the bar with me today, and Ryan Callahan of Go Vols 24/7, and then Vince Ferrara of 99.1 The Sports Animal. I find this matchup between the Wildcats and the Volunteers really interesting for a couple of reasons. I think we could start with Kentucky's head coach, especially the last couple of meetings. I feel this game is always close, especially when you're on the road in Kentucky. But with Mark Stoops, we could go back to that Kentucky game. It was interesting after the press conference. He was talking about how he really appreciated the environment from the fans, and that the team deserved that kind of environment despite them losing a game that they very much could have won to Texas. Mm-hmm. It ends up kind of starting to seem like it might be a farewell tour in a sense for Mark Stoops. We could look at how the team has kind of been ebbing and flowing the last couple of seasons. And what I think that makes that dangerous is maybe the type of passion that they'll play with behind Mark Stoops. I think this team really appreciates their head coach, and that always is a dangerous recipe for a team like Tennessee, who is not going to be able to afford another loss on the season. Going up against a team who has nothing to lose could be a very dangerous recipe.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Stoops has accomplished a lot at Kentucky, been there a long time, and his players, you might want to play for him here down the stretch. There's a lot of buzz, certainly suggesting that he might be on the way out at some point. Now, big buyout, though, that Kentucky would be on the hook for. So how does this go? They're still trying to figure that out for a football school. Are they willing to pay that big of a buyout to get rid of a football coach who's been pretty solid for most of his time, but obviously things trending downward for Kentucky. So yeah, big variable in this game is sort of how much are they desperate to get a win for him, and is there still time for Kentucky to turn things around?
Yeah, and they look like a team that, because of that defense, kind of keeps them in a lot of games, and we'll talk about the defense in a minute, but they seem to always get somebody. They got Ole Miss last year, so if you're not ready, then they can get you. And they almost got Texas last week. Texas helped them, and that's what Tennessee has to avoid. But we've seen Tennessee at times help the competition. So, and like you said, there's a track record of close games, not only just in the series, but in Lexington. The last 4 games have been decided by 16 total points in Lexington, and Kentucky won the first one. So, you could very well see them be very motivated for their head coach and just the players overall.
I mean, especially considering it being a night game, too. I think those environments are always intensified being a night game. You mentioned the defense a moment ago. I mean, over the last couple of seasons since 2022, they go from being the second best defense in the SEC to now the 14th. And we were talking before about the injury report. I mean, this could be really interesting for Kentucky's defense.
Yeah, their starting corner in DJ Waller is doubtful. They have a lot of guys on their injury report. Like every category is listed in there. Khalil Saunders, defensive tackle, is also on the injury report, the availability report. So, yeah, they're a little bit banged up on offense some as well. But, they're a team that kind of plays back, that 3 down front. They don't want to get beat over the top. And when Tennessee's trying to get explosive plays, that might not, be a good match. So can Tennessee run the ball against them, get in the right plays? They're a tough physical team. Stephen Souls Jr. From Powell High School is their leading sack guy. You know him from recruiting, obviously, right? So they don't have a bunch of first rounders, but they do play tough, and I expect them to be motivated in this game.
Yeah, they typically do a good job defensively. They're a tough team to figure out this year because they've kind of been inconsistent on defense.
Right.
Georgia kind of picked them apart. They gave up 35 to South Carolina as well, but in that game, 21 of their points came on short fields or off turnovers. So, they've been sort of hard to figure out because statistically they're bad, but there's still some underlying things like last week's performance against Texas especially suggesting they're maybe not that bad. So Tennessee's got to watch out for this one. It could be a little misleading. If you take Kentucky lightly, they're that kind of team that knows how to – Mark Stoops very savvy, knows how to make the most of his talent. They can play better defensively than people are expecting tonight. They're at least capable of that, as they showed last week.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, too, for Tennessee's offense to have an opportunity to regain some of its confidence after you mentioned, when Joey Aguilar, the offense kind of gives the ball away at times. I think it's a chance for them to maybe look how they did against Georgia moving forward. But I think another angle we have to talk about is Kentucky's quarterback.
Yeah, Cutter Boley, a redshirt freshman, talented guy, former 4-star prospect. He was originally in the 2025 class, reclassified up to the 24 class, and redshirted last year. Got a chance to move into the starting lineup about a month ago, and he's played pretty well lately. 31 of 39 last week against Texas. Now, still had some freshman moments, I think, and that's kind of what you expect from a young quarterback. But he seems to have gotten a lot better since his first appearance. Had a couple turnovers in that South Carolina game where he got his first start. So he's coming along. They're excited about his potential, but is he ready to knock off a team like Tennessee? Obviously, it's a little bit more favorable setup at home, but this is a big challenge for him. They've not won a conference game yet, but he's one of the reasons for excitement if you're looking for reasons for optimism for Kentucky going forward.
Yeah, because he's a freshman, and he is talented. I think he has given that offense a little bit of a jolt since they moved on from Calzada. But it would behoove Tennessee to heat him up and get some pressure, whether it's just from their front 4 or dialing up some blitzes. Now, do they trust the back end enough to do that a ton? They're probably going to show him. Tim Banks is going to show him a lot of different looks, but he is an important player because he does have some skills. And when he is dialed in, they can run the ball pretty well. A couple of their backs a little bit banged up, but McGowan is one of them on that availability list. But when they're balanced on offense, then they can do some things. I also worry about them just kind of dinking and dunking down the field and shortening the game. And that would put some pressure on Tennessee's offense to have to respond if that happens.
And that's what Kentucky often does really well. You get if Cutter Boley, he's 31 of 39 last week, if he's efficient like that and moves the chains, that's the recipe for disaster for Tennessee. Kentucky shortening this game and causing them to need to be efficient offensively.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about how overworked this year's wide receivers are, and our VFLs will show you just why.
Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is called Volunteer Views. It's brought to you by VFL, Daniel Hood Roofing. Daniel and his team will take care of you whether you're in Nashville, Knoxville, or anywhere in between. If you need a roof repair, a roof cleaning, or a brand new roof, call Daniel Hood Roofing. Get yourself a free roof inspection. They'll show you everything you need to know about what you need done. Daniel Hood Roofing. All right, I'm back with VFL Marlon Walls, VFL Ollie Lane right there. Gentlemen, I wanted to talk about a stat ESPN put up last week during the Alabama game. it showed the number of total snaps by Tennessee's receivers. And you saw them at like 320, 340, 340, and the next man down was at 79. So I wanted to go and find just how many pass routes they've been running. So just the pass snaps. And on your screen right now, you see the numbers I found from ProFootballFocus.com, and you guys have it in front of you as well. If you go back to 2022, all right, let's just look at these last 4 years. The numbers on the 2022, 23, and 24, that's a 13-game full season. And you had 5 guys over 100 snaps. It was spread out, only 2 over 400. In 2023, 5 over 100 again, only 1 over 400. Last year, you had 6 guys over 100 snaps. None of them were over 400. Now, some of that was because of injuries. But you look at 2025, and this is prorated. This is taking 7 games worth of snaps and projecting it over 13. You're on pace for your top 3 receivers to run more pass routes than any receivers in the last 4 years. It is unbelievable. It would be the first time you've had 5, 5, and 6 guys over 100. This year, you're on pace to only have 3 guys over 100. So it's all on those 3 guys. 3 guys over 400, and again, 453, 460, 464. That's a lot of pass routes. That's a lot of pass routes. So I ask you guys, when does fatigue start to become an issue with guys who are running constantly?
Yeah, I mean, it starts now. I mean, these guys are probably somewhat tired out. I mean, I know from my standpoint, fatigue normally hit about that midway part of the season. You know, you get that first bye week, you get a little bit of that wind back in you, but then you start an SEC slate. And it starts getting harder and harder every single week to get out of bed, get yourself ready for practice. You probably spend a little bit more time in the hot tub before you actually get ready for practice, try to warm those joints up. And especially for these guys in particular, running all those pass routes. I mean, at some point in time, running 40, 50 yards down the field at almost every single snap, it's going to wear on you a lot. They're not going to be as effective as you need them to be just because it's just the fatigue tendencies. I mean, you're not going to be as sharp as you always are. You're going to have to take a little bit more time in the morning or before pregame to make sure that you're at that level because it's not coming as naturally as it was game 1, game 2.
That's an interesting note that I want to come back to. Marlon, your thoughts on, is your experience the same about midway of the season?
Yeah. So my deal was a little different to where my body felt it. It literally was a period in time around this time, usually those SEC slates, where literally before practice, I go warm up, and then the head trainer will have my pills, my Toradol, all the rest of that ready to go before I actually start practice. And that was just my daily routine. Yeah. But it was usually around this time. When you run into the Alabamas, the Kentuckys, the Georgias, and it's lined up the way it is right now, your body starts to feel it. And so I'm trying to figure out right now with how high these snaps are, and we're relying on basically 3 guys. If this can you reprimand this the rest of the season? And I don't think you can. So that's tough.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways it could be impacting this offense already that maybe they're trying to dial it back. They haven't been as up-tempo. There were a lot of people that thought, okay, now you've got Joey Aguilar, you can go back up-tempo the way you did in 2022. They haven't. They're still faster than anybody else in the country, but it's not the same speed you played at. They also, the last couple of weeks, and we know a huge part of this offense are the deep balls. That allows you to go tempo. Those are the big shots. When those aren't there, the offense doesn't look right. Last couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, they didn't hit on them. Last week, they didn't throw a ton of them. Do you think that the tempo, the number of deep routes they're running, could that be the coaching staff knows we got some tired legs at our receiving core?
Yeah, I mean, especially, too, when it seems like, every week I've talked about it, seems like they got 3 guys that they really trust.
Yeah.
And so they're overloading these 3 guys, and at some point, you can't expect the same things that you were expecting start of the season, end of the season, just because you get worn out. You're going to have little nicks and bumps here or there. I mean, I'm sure everybody's ankles probably don't feel great. And so those are things that you got to think about. We need other people to step up because obviously we see the offense is not as effective when you take out those elements.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be someone in your recruiting trail, in something that's ready to kind of step up and absorb some of the snaps you'd hope that there's somebody ready there. Because, I mean, 464 snaps at the end of the year, 460.
On pass routes.
Pass routes. That's a lot of snaps.
Marlon, you think that's one reason you may not be doing the tempo or may not be throwing as many deep balls the last couple of weeks? Or do you think no?
No. I think that's exactly it. I think, with this offense, we know when it's most explosive. It's when we're getting downfield passes. We're able to go up tempo. We can catch you off guard on the defensive side of the ball. And to see the last couple of weeks we've slowed that down starts to tell me we're either starting to get tired legs or we're getting more nicks from that group. and we're trying to slow things down and allow guys to get back into the game. But yeah, I would say that you're absolutely correct on that one.
So that's kind of a man management thing, is maybe why they haven't been running as many deep balls. The other question I had for you that you just brought up, in terms of you get fatigued, it's also a mental thing. You're not as mentally sharp, which when you're talking about receivers could lead to drop balls. You another stat that ESPN ran last week, and I don't have access to their stats in terms of drops. I've not found a site online that provides official drops, but ESPN had a stat that had Tennessee with more drops than every school in the country except for App State. Well, that too could be a product of worn out. Now, the other side of that, as I played devil's advocate for myself, is they've been dropping balls all year. But it is one to watch. Do you see more drops going forward? And if so, is it a result of the fact that these guys aren't as mentally sharp because they are being called on to run more routes than practically any receivers under Josh Heupel over the last 4 years? Okay. Marlon, Ollie, you're going to be back with us a little bit later. When we come back here on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff, we're going to be talking to Tyler Ivins and his team. They're going to give you a by-the-numbers look, the over-unders for tonight's game. It's good stuff. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is called By the Numbers. Tyler Ivins and his team are going to dig into some prop bets for you, help you get an idea of what's coming your way this evening in Lexington.
John Pennington, we appreciate you. Same three guys. Let's go inside the number. Ryan Callahan, Will West. It's the border war between Tennessee and Kentucky. A couple of these, they're going to be intriguing. We start with number 1. In 7 games this year, gentlemen, the Vols have allowed 373 or more yards to their opponents 6 times. And in those 6 games this year, talk about Kentucky, they have gone over 373 yards of total offense just twice. Those opponents, Eastern Michigan, and surprisingly, against Texas last week. So, gentlemen, quickly, over under 372.5 yards of total offense tonight, Ryan Callahan for Kentucky.
I really like this number. I don't really have any reason to, but I'm going to go under. Tennessee's defense hasn't given us reasons to be really confident in them, but Kentucky's offense, I'm gonna go with the fact that they're not very good overall. I think Cutter Boley moving in the right direction. They might throw for a decent number. So I think they'll approach this number, but I'll say they finish under it.
I'm going to take under as well. I think that Kentucky's offense is straight up bad. Last week was an aberration, and they had a lot of possessions last week. I don't think they'll have as many possessions this week. I think it's a low-scoring game, maybe a Mark Stoops style game, but they don't have the same level of offensive coordinator that they had when Mark Stoops was winning 8 to 10 games. So, no, Kentucky's going to go under this number.
Tell us all this time. Let's go find a 5-star quarterback. They're going to struggle. We'll change the quarterback, and the offense will still struggle. It doesn't matter who their OC is. Even if they leave for the Jaguars in the NFL, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. I'm going to take under this. We'll sweep that category. Will, let's get started with you. Under Josh Heupel, Vol quarterbacks have yet to throw an interception against Kentucky. Great nugget. But Joey Aguilar has thrown 6 interceptions this year. He's just 1 away from tying the most by a ball in a full season under Josh Heupel. Over under a half an interception, does Joey Aguilar give one away to the other team tonight?
I'm going to go under as well. That's not Mark Stoops' game, is to force turnovers. Mark Stoops' game is to kind of stop you and get you off the field on 3rd down. So I think that's part of it. I also think Tennessee's going to learn their lesson a little bit and run the football more in this game after 2 guys averaging more than 8 yards a carry last week, and they still threw the ball over 40 times. So give me the under on this one. I don't think Joey Aguilar throws a pick.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the under. I think Tennessee, Aguilar has more interceptions in him this season. It probably won't be this week is how I would look at it. I think to your point, they will run the ball a bit more in this game, and they probably should. Kentucky's had some tackling issues. You want to take advantage of that and take advantage of how well Deshaun Bishop's running the ball. I don't think Aguilar throws it a ton. I think he mostly takes care of the ball in this game.
This is boring. Are we supposed to be like at each other's throats talking about how you're wrong and you're right?
Wait till the next one.
No, as Will already laid out, run the football. You laid it out. I think this is a game where if you have a chance to smooth things out, iron that dress shirt, do it. I think you'll see Tennessee improve. Not get too much in the improved category, but they're not giving balls to the other team in this matchup. You said go to the next one? Okay, Ryan, lead us off. Josh Heupel's teams have averaged 37.5 points per game versus Mark Stoops. Kentucky's, in those 4 games against Kentucky, I should say, but the points have fallen each year. They went 45, down to 44, down to 33, down to 28. Gentlemen, over under 37.5. If we set a unique average team total, Ryan Callahan, over under 37.5 points, team total score tonight at Kroger Field for the Vols.
Give me the under. I'm not really believing this team is going to put up a lot of points until they do it again. The offense has just been a little bit off the past few games. Kentucky, again, kind of not a bend but don't break, but they like to keep things in front of them. They like to make you drive the field, play things a little bit safely. I think Tennessee probably ends up playing Kentucky's pace in this game. Kentucky slows things down offensively. I think all that lends itself to Tennessee not scoring 38 points.
I don't think the two teams together will score much over 37.5 points in this game. I think Tennessee's offense is broken. I think the coaching staff is content to let it be what it is right now, and we're going to try to win with our defense, which I don't completely understand. But I don't think Kentucky can score a lot of points. I don't think Tennessee can score a lot of points.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought surely one of you was going to say 30.
No, here's the reason why. I think that you're seeing right now, Tennessee, what less can we put on film to be able to continue against Oklahoma? We still have matches with Vanderbilt to get to, and that Florida game to come. A winless team in conference where Mark Stoops' seat continues to heat up. Get in, play the game, get out with a win, with at least shown as possible. I think this is going to be vanilla football tonight because of, well, a little bit of everything. 3 for 3, gentlemen. We're going to go under. Are we going to sweep all 4 of these, Will? Let us know. As John mentioned earlier in today's show, the Vols' last 4 games in Lexington have been super tight. In fact, the average margin of victory, only 4 points, with one of those games actually won by Kentucky. Will tonight's game be decided, Will West, over under 9.5?
I'm going to take the under there as well. I think that this is going to be a close game. It always is in Lexington for whatever reason with Kentucky, unless Tennessee just goes 1,000 miles an hour. The only thing I know in this world is that there is zero chance Tennessee goes pit and tempo in this game, so it's going to be close.
Finally, we disagree. I'm taking the over. I think Tennessee will. Well, you'll see my prediction later, but I think they will take care of this game a little bit comfortably. I don't think Kentucky's very good, and that's more what this is based on. I don't think Tennessee's going to run away with it, but I think they end up winning this game by a more comfortable margin than we're used to seeing the last 4 times in Lexington.
Injury reports, as well as issues with consistency. As much as I want to take the game as the throttle to the floorboard accelerator game for Tennessee, I think it's tight, and I'm a trends guy. And what has history shown us the last couple of seasons, pointed out by John? Yeah, it's going to be tight. And I still have concerns about tackling. I'll say it stays within the 9.5. That would be Kentucky and the points. Gentlemen, as always, double bumps. We appreciate it. When we come back, we talk about improvements. What exactly is it in detail that Tennessee football must improve as we make that turn through October towards November?
Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show, it's called the Keys to Victory, although today it's more like the things that need immediate fixing. It's brought to you by Madisonville Marine. People drive from all over the South, and they visit madmarine.com because there's no better place to buy a boat. If people are ordering boats and having them shipped to Texas, Florida, and California from Madisonville, Tennessee, tells you something about Madisonville Marine. You should check them out as well, madmarine.com. Okay. As I said, usually we just talk about the keys to victory, and we can mix some of those in. But I also want to talk about you need some things that immediately need to be fixed, that you got to get on to, that we saw at Alabama, maybe things that haven't gone right the last couple of weeks. I want to get into those, and we might have touched on some of them already. But whoever wants to jump in here first can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, starting off, first and foremost, you got to get the deep ball going for you again. You know, everybody at the beginning of the season, deep ball's back, it's back. Well, it's not really back. If you want to put it on par with where it was at in 22, it's not back. And the fact is, the last 3 games, it's kind of been absent from our game plan. You're going to have to find more creative ways. You got to get the ball downfield because that's what this offense thrives off of, being able to hit those big play things. It seemed like the only explosive play that you really got out of the Alabama game was that 44-yard run by Bishop. And if that's what you're relying on to be your explosive big plays as a running game, this isn't the offense. Yes, you can have explosive plays in the running game, but the passing game is what you thrive off of. Yeah. And especially you've seen the ability from them, from Joey and Brazel's connections. You got to find a way to get that factored back in Lexington.
All right. Marlon, you got anything?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing I took away from the Alabama game was looking at the field, offense versus defense, and saying, you know what, their guys just look a little bit better than our guys. As far as the star rating goes, the amount of guys recruit-wise who's ranked this and that, and I don't know the exacts on those, but you can look at the two football teams, and this is normally the case. Alabama's a little bit more talented. And so with that being said, one of the things I was most critical about Heupel last year, or the way we finished out last year, the playoff game, was we didn't have a whole lot of different looks we were giving guys offensively. And so I feel like when you've got a talent discrepancy, and this team is a little bit more talented than you are, or more seasoned than your guys.
Injuries are starting to
Injuries like we are right now.
Yeah.
Be an offensive coordinator, right? Be an offensive first guy. And by that I mean draw some stuff up. Let me see some different formations, some different shifts, anything to get the defense kind of moving around and talking and a little confused. That gives you an edge on the offensive side of the football, which, again, we've pointed out this season, that's just the way it is. Your edge is on the offensive side of the football. So, man, I was a little bit critical. That's something I want to see get fixed because that gives us an advantage. It makes the defense think a little bit more as a former defensive guy. All right, where is that guy?
Yeah.
Oh, he's lined up here now. Or even bringing in a guy like Boo Carter. Again, we've talked about that a million times. He is one of those guys we've seen in high school. They got the ball to him, and he made special plays. Yeah. He is your punt returner. Usually those guys are good in space. I would like to see that guy get the ball on offense. Do some things different.
John, thoughts?
Well, yeah, I do think exactly. You go back to the end of the half situation when there was disaster. There's nothing wrong with showing the same formation before a timeout and after a timeout, but every now and then just throwing a wrinkle to where he's going to roll, the quarterback's going to move the pocket to the right side. Just see if there's an avenue that gets him right into the end zone or somebody comes open that you weren't expecting to come open. You can just hand it off and see if you can't go straight ahead. Not in that instance when you don't have any timeouts. Yeah. But sometimes just have a straight drop, sometimes roll to the left, sometimes roll to the right. Yep. Make the defense guess as to, well, what are they going to do this time?
Yeah. I will go with one that I think we've already covered pass protection today. Yeah. All right, you got to get that fixed. We've already covered tackling, which depending on whether or not Carter goes, we don't think he will, but when we're taping. But whether or not he goes, you got to fix the tackling somehow. To me, you look at Tennessee's offense, it hasn't looked the same the last 3 weeks it did early. All right, part of that schedule's got a little bit tougher. You're in the SEC now, so we don't have the ETSUs and UABs there. But I also wonder, we went into this season and you heard other teams talk about, well, they've changed their offense. We expected to spread them wide, veer and shoots, which you do. And we credited Josh Heupel because a lot of coaches would have just kept banging their head against the wall. He went out and changed his offense. Mm-hmm. Now you're more than a month in and teams have seen your new offense. So in typical football fashion, I think there's some cat and mouse going on here. Oh, we now see that Aguilar likes to do this, and in this new system, they like to go here. So don't let him do this and don't let them go here. Yeah. Now it's back on Tennessee. It goes back to Heupel and Halsley and all the other guys, the analysts, Jim Chaney and Seth Littrell and all those guys. They've got to figure out what are our counterpunches to your counterpunch. Mm-hmm. And you do that back and forth until finally – last guy standing the other guy doesn't have any more chips to play, doesn't have any more cards to throw out there. Yep. And right now I think that the defenses have adjusted. They figured you out a little bit. Okay, we've seen it. Now it's time for Tennessee to start having answers to their answers and so on. Any other things that come up tonight?
You are in Lexington, so there's two things you can count on. Traffic lights on your way to the stadium and bad weather. I mean,
cold,
yeah, without a doubt. There is the opportunity for it to be cold, and if it's cold and your unit is not on the field, it becomes an uphill climb just trying to stay loose and stay warm. I mean, just think, Joey Aguilar is down in Tuscaloosa last week where it was 90 degrees. It was really warm and humid, and so he's trying to keep his neck loose after the shot that he took and then the additional shot on the late hit. It's going to be even more difficult to keep the blood pumping to all the extremities. So just be prepared that there's a chance it could be miserable at Kroger Field.
Very good. All right. Thanks to these guys. When we come back, it's time for predictions. We'll give you 9 picks, including our 4 and 5 more for tonight's game, Tennessee at Kentucky. Come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff in a segment we call Who Wins and Why. And if you visit Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive, you will be the winner. Why? Because they will beat any deal on any new Kia given to you by anyone else anywhere. So that's a pretty big statement, and it's true. Jake Bull and his team are who you need to visit if you're in the market for a Kia. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive. Let's go ahead and get over to the picks.
When I'm looking at this game between Tennessee and Kentucky, I'm going to take the Volunteers in this one on the road. 27-21, though, will be my final. I think it's going to be maybe a close game. I'm not too sure how I feel about Tennessee's offense. Obviously, the dropped passes and just how they've not been able to get much of a rhythm the last couple of games. But hopefully this is a game where they find some type of continuity. But I'll take them by a touchdown in this one.
Yeah, I have Tennessee as well, 31-27. I actually have a little bit more confidence in the offense than I do in their defense. I need to see the tackling clean up. I need to see them be better on 3rd and long. Kentucky will get some things done, maybe even a special teams touchdown, something like that to close the game up a little bit, but Tennessee will still find a way to win.
I've got Tennessee 34, Kentucky 23. I'm giving the Vols a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt, maybe defensively than I should, but I don't know that Kentucky's very good offensively. Kentucky's got some defensive issues too, even though they've been pretty good. Sounds like some tackling problems, a lot like Tennessee, so I think the Vols will be able to run the ball and do enough to keep Kentucky at least at arm's length throughout this game.
Hey, Will West, can you clean up tackling in 1 week's time? No, you probably can't. Tennessee 27, Kentucky 23. Look, I'm not going to let Arch Manning's 2 first downs in the second half that led to an overtime win for Texas scare me. But until the Vols show me, hey, this is fixed and complete, tight game. Cats cover up north.
Yeah, look, I think that Tennessee is better than Kentucky. I believe they're going to win this game. 27-20 is what I will say. Tennessee 27, Kentucky 20. Tennessee's offense is broken. Tennessee's defense is schematically broken right now. And I don't know why they're continuing to try to get home with 4. Fortunately, Kentucky's so bad offensively. This is Mark Stoops' Worth's team that I think you're going to end up being fine. Tennessee gets a win. Kentucky gets a cover. I think it's going to be a closer game than most Vol fans would like.
Thanks to all those folks. It's time for our predictions. Everyone, of course, taking Tennessee, but a lot of close predictions from the group across the studio. John Wilkerson, I will start with you. Who wins and why?
I'll go Tennessee. I'm going to go 30-20. And I like the Volunteers to be better defensively. I like Tennessee to be better offensively. And I really think that Deshaun Bishop has hit his next gear. So I think he's going to be the difference maker for the ball.
About 279 yards the last 2 games. He
Yes.
is looking like a difference maker. Ollie Lane, what are you doing?
I'm going to go 24-17 Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to have a pretty successful start in this one. I think it will be closer than most people think, just because I know how Kentucky's defense is. Kentucky's defense is always somewhat of a hard hurdle to go against, and especially when you're playing in Lexington, like you've already alluded to. It's cold, and at some point in time, Kentucky's probably going to do the whole we're going to hold the ball on offense and let your guys get cold on the bench.
Sit over there and freeze.
Yes.
Okay. What do you got, Marlon?
All right, I've got Tennessee, and I've got them going 34-20. 34-20. I think that, again, it's going to be a tough one. I think we pull it out in the end, kind of start to give a little space between them. But I got Tennessee 34-20.
I have gone back and forth on this all week. And every time somebody picks big, I go small in my head. And when somebody goes small, I'm like, no, it'll be bigger than that. So I'll just throw a dart at the board. I'll say Tennessee wins it, but I'll take the Vols 28-20. I think that I don't think you're going to be put into too much peril unless you start turning the ball over. But I just don't think your defense can hold anybody under 20 at this point. It's not playing well. And offensively, I just don't know that you're high flying at the moment. Until you show me that, we fixed some of our issues and we figured out those counter punches, I'm a little worried about your offense. We'll see how cold the temperatures are tonight. John Wilkerson, thanks for joining me. Marlon Walsh, thank you. Ollie Lane, of course, thank you. Thanks to all of our sponsors who bring you this show year-round. We're not just football season. We're every Saturday year-round, wherever you're watching us. Of course, we'll also be with you tomorrow, Sunday, for the Sports Source. That is at 11 a.m. If you're watching in Knoxville, it's on WATE TV. Or you could watch it, if you're anywhere else, you can watch it on the Sports Source Digital Network, and it'll be up by 3 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Thanks again to everyone here. Thanks to you for watching. Good luck to your Vols tonight. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the Sports Source.